Hello, everyone. In this video, man, I'm fortunate enough to chat with true Irish legend, the man who killed Nidge himself, the fantastic John Connors. You may recognize him from, I don't even know where to begin, Love Hay, Cardboard Gangsters, Broken Law, directed by friend of the channel, Paddy Slattery. But we are here to discuss his newest film and feature directorial debut, The Black Guelph. John, how are you doing today, man? Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me, Daniel. Really appreciate it, man. Great to chat with you. You're local or local.
Crazy. I mean, I remember my friends were telling me about Cardboard Gangsters, a film made in Darndale, and I was sitting there thinking, nah, films are only made in Los Angeles. Like, I remember I thought they were waffling, and all my friends have said they've seen you at one point or another, and they always say it's funny, you're the biggest film fan in Ireland, and you're the only one who hasn't seen John Connors around. So there you go, man. But yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, seeing someone from the area be as big as you, that's why this interview is completely different, because like I can't make an arse out of myself in front of John Connors. It's like if it's any of the American lads, I could give a rat's because they're not gonna care. But you, I can't make an arse out of myself in front of you, man. So there you go.
You can bump into me one of the days.
There you go. We'll get a point after this down at the Horse and Hound.
Yeah.
I saw you guys used that in Broken Law.
Yeah, we did. Yeah. I've had a few drinks there actually outside of that too. Yeah, we good crack. I think that was way back in 2018, 19, maybe we made that.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was a lot of fun with Paddy Slattery. You've interviewed Paddy, haven't you?
He's an absolute legend. He was the first director I think I ever interviewed. Even before I started interviewing Hollywood lads, I started with Paddy. He is a legend. But yeah, man, that's crazy. I think if you got me a pint, no one would ask for my ID. So I think we'd be all right there. So that sounds like a plan. We'll get this going after the interview.
What age you now, Daniel?
15, but we'll tell them I'm 18. I'm growing out the Ronnie. I'm
If
not
you
sure.
get me a permission slip from your mother and father, maybe I'll have a find there.
I'm growing out the Ronnie, so we'll get it going anyway enough. But I absolutely nailed Black Guelph. That was a perfect pronunciation by me. It's practicing it in my bathroom mirror all day. But man, this project, since I've heard about it, I've been absolutely psyched because I've watched your interviews. And the way you kind of articulate things, I was thinking, like, I really want to see you direct something. And I think you've done stuff in short films before, but the Black Guelph is obviously a feature. Tell me, where does the Black Guelph come from for you as a storyteller, as an auteur, whatever you want to call yourself? Where does this come from you?
It comes from a very deep and personal place, I suppose, Daniel. Like, I wrote it years ago. Originally, it was called "Bless You, Father, for You Have Sinned," a more sort of on the nose title, and I wrote it as a short film, and it was rejected for funding with Screen Ireland, and I put it to a side, and then I ended up directing another short film a few years later called Abraham's Bosom, which was the same sort of subject matter, like clerical abuse and that, but done in a very symbolic and very just through imagery, really. And it was written by my co-writer, Tiernan Williams, who's a good friend of mine, and we own a company together, Crystal Fox Films. Again, both from disadvantaged background, me being a traveller from Darndale, him coming from Ballymun. There's not many of us in the industry. So when he wrote that, it reminded me of Bless You, Father, that short that I got rejected by Screen Ireland for, and I sent it to him, and I said, "What do you think of this? Can we turn this into a feature? Like, this story hasn't left me; it won't leave me."
Yeah.
Again, it's about intergenerational clerical abuse, the effects of that, the trauma and trauma broadly as a subject matter in Ireland that hasn't really been dealt with. And it's a bit like, essentially, that's my family line, it's my history, it's all that stuff. So it's something that kind of never left me. And then during 2020 lockdown, I had a big fucking meltdown, mental health went the fuck, and I was just basically in that dark place again.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, I was in that dark place again, the place that I was in before I found acting.
Yeah.
And I was just going, what's the fucking point here? And I was getting misrepresented through the media and social media, someone I wasn't, and being called all sorts of just names that, and it just wasn't like, I suppose I just couldn't handle the pressure of the whole thing.
Yeah.
And it was the year and anniversary of my father's death that I thought I was never going to get to that age. He died at 30, and I thought I was in my 31st year then, so I thought I'll never make 31. And this was a self-fulfilling prophecy, all a complicated connective tissue of trauma, basically, that you
Yeah.
could only understand from my own psyche. So 2020 was like the perfect storm of all this, and I just found there was no way out. And then Tiernan and Jimmy Smallhorn, my good friend, who's an actor and a writer-director as well, from Ballyfermot, the two of them kind of plotted against me in order to save me and told me, I need to make this film.
Yeah.
So I said, okay. And I got reminded of that thing that saved me, which was creativity. And then I just say, okay, I'm making this film. And I did the kind of Francis Ford Coppola thing, which was tell everybody you're going to make it and then just go to make it. And then eventually, hopefully you'll make it. And that's kind of what I did. And I just threw it out there in the ether one day. And I think there was like a radio interview where people wanted to interview me and essentially paint me as a bad person and kind of buy into the controversy that was around me at the time.
Yeah.
And I used the opportunity to put the film out there in the ether. And then someone on Twitter got in touch with me who was really interested in what I was trying to say. And they became the funder. And that's how we made the film.
Yeah, man, and I completely get what you're saying. Especially, I love the points you brought up about media, because I've interviewed a few people, and I'm always a bit wary for someone to take something I said to someone out of context and to slap it up on an article. I think it's fucking. I think that's kind of disgusting. So I get where you're coming from with that.
Yeah.
But that's really fascinating to me, the idea of intergenerational impact of clerical abuse, because I was watching it like a press junket interview you did for Cardboard Gangsters, and you brought up, you said, yeah, the next project I hope to do is Bless You Father for You Have Sinned, and then you brought that up. So this is something that's obviously been in your head for a while. Did you feel like, obviously, you know, without I hope this isn't a pretentious question, but did you feel like it was your duty to tell this story?
Oh yeah, man. Like it's like I do ask myself sometimes, you know, like as an actor, Daniel, you kind of go, you're a fucking gunslinger, right?
Yeah.
And you're a mercenary. And
You'll do
like,
whatever. If you
yeah,
give me a few bob, I'll do anything.
yeah, what's the job? Yeah, you want me to go over, smash a fella up, do grand, whatever it is. What's the paycheck grand? As a director, I would never do that. And it's like I'm very serious about what I do as a director because
Because your
that's my
name's on the poster at the end of the day,
yeah,
like.
and more like even more personally, it's my point of view on the world and what
Yeah.
I want to say. So I ask myself that question, the Johnny Cash kind of question of, you know, when he was in the booth and Sam Phillips came into him and he auditioned for him and he did some of these kind of gospel songs that he didn't really fucking believe in. And
Yeah.
Sam Phillips comes up to him and says, look, I heard that fucking thing 100 times, blah, blah, blah. What would you do if you had one day left in this earth? What's that song that you would sing? You tell me that's that song? Is that the song you'd sing?
And he plays Folsom Prison Blues, right?
Yeah, exactly. So the thing is, he comes back with something that comes from his fucking heart and soul and his gut and
Yeah.
all the pain. And that's the question I asked myself with this. And I was going, what's that one song? What's that one film? What's the one film that I can't be content with until I could die? And if I haven't made this, it'll be my biggest regret. And it's the Black Guelph. It's
Yeah.
not my Traveller film, which will be next. That's going to be very personal. It's not other stuff that I have in the pipeline. It's this one. So I thought before I die, I have to make this film. I won't rest. I'll unbury myself from a fucking coffin hole. If I don't make this fucking film,
Yeah.
that's the film. And that it's like, you know, it's going to be a trip for people because what I sort of do is trick people into thinking they're watching a gangster film.
Yeah.
And then, you know, they kind of find out then the gangsterism is just the result of the drama. So we
Yeah.
use that to show the kind of sexy vehicle of the drama, but a very accurate vehicle, because that's what happened to a lot of people who went through that trauma and went through that intergenerational trauma, through the clerical abuse, and it was handed down and all the stuff not being resolved. They became gangsters, others became drug addicts, or became both. And that's the vehicles we use as drugs and gangsterism.
Yeah, and it's like, I get where you're coming from. People go to Goodfellas to see gangsters, and they stay for the characters. That's how storytelling kind of works. No, you know, it's great to go and watch a film, Apocalypse Now, about the Vietnam War. You stay to see these characters go on a journey. You know, you talk about trauma, and that's fascinating me. And I watched, you know, a mutual friend of ours, Paddy Slattery, who I think we could both acknowledge is a legend. And you guys did this amazing episode where you talk about trauma in I think it's episode 2 of your Returnings podcast. And it really stuck with me. I really thought that episode was great. And so the main character is played by Graham Early, who I think I'm having him on the channel tomorrow. I'm interviewing him tomorrow morning.
Brilliant.
He's a fantastic actor. He's not here so I can lick his hole, but I think he's great. He is fantastic.
He's one of the best in Ireland, without a doubt.
We won't tell him we said any of this, though. We'll tell him we were talking about how shit he was. We can't let him know, because then he won't come on my channel and do RTE instead. So we can't be having that.
I think both me and him would rather be on your channel.
Oh, far too kind. But the gangster in this is a result from trauma. He comes from trauma. And what's really fascinating is that if you don't answer this, that's fine. But as an actor, you kind of got into acting from trauma. Was that a parallel you intentionally drew between these two characters? You know, is there something of yourself in Kanto or Kanto?
Oh yeah, man. No, I got into acting because I was going to kill myself.
Yeah.
And acting serendipitously presented itself, and it saved me life.
That's powerful.
Well, it's just a fact. And then, like, Cardboard Gangsters was all about trauma too. And it was about the lead character, Jay, who lost his father, who committed suicide. Hello, that's me. You know what I mean? And it's about enacting all that violence because he had repression. That's me. And was me when I was younger. It was everything I do. My one-man show I did all around the world. You know, I did 86 shows. It's about trauma.
Yeah.
And ultimately, trauma is like the kind of greatest conflict. And it can be the thing that can make you or destroy you, really. And at times in my life, it has almost destroyed me. At times in my life, it's almost ended my life. But at the same time, it's probably created my best art that I've done, and will continue to, because you kind of think you've resolved something, and you resolve the trauma, and then it comes back around to bite you a few years later, you know. And it's like life is more complicated than that. Life is not like a movie in that you have that one big moment of change, and then that's it. You change and you never go back to your old way. Life isn't like that. Life is like, yeah, you think you have that moment, and then no shit, I'm back to that square one again, and I'm fucked, and now I'm feeling like shit, and I now feel guilty and ashamed, and blah blah blah, and then you just have to get over that and get over it again and get over it again, and stay busy until you die, because that's what life is.
Yeah, and I mean, even in your films, what's fascinating is that you see here, you have overcome that trauma. In your films, your characters don't. Your characters are kind of wrapped up. And that's something now, just talking, I kind of realized. I didn't even tweet this before. In Breed, the short film you did, you know, it's a father and a son, but we get the idea that the father grew up in a certain way. Like, I believe we're all products of our environment, and we're products of the people close to us. So your characters don't necessarily overcome that trauma. And in something like Cardboard Gangsters, I think, in the first 30 minutes, it's evident. Like, whenever I talk to writers, they always tell me about this line. Once a character crosses this line, there's no coming back. We know it sets off a different path, and we know how it's going to end. But we know that it's not going to be good anyway. And there's that certain line in Cardboard Gangsters when we don't know how he's going to get out of this, and then we kind of clock it and say, well, maybe he doesn't. How important is honesty for you as an actor? Because Derek Cianfrance, a director I talked to, has this amazing quote. What fascinates him as a director is when acting stops and behavior begins. And so I was just wondering, what do you think of that?
Well, first of all, I saw your interview with Derek Cianfrance, and it was fucking brilliant. Brilliant interview. And when I mean I love Derek Cianfrance,
Yeah.
I love him. I
He's
like Blue Valentine is a masterpiece.
It's
Like,
fucking heartbreaking, isn't it, man?
heartbreaking. And I've seen that film. Like, that's one of those films I watch to inspire me as a filmmaker and as
Yeah,
an actor.
really.
Yeah. And then A Place Beyond the Pines, which a lot of people don't like, because of, you know, the spoiler alert, when Ryan Gosling's character dies in the second half.
Yeah.
But I love it.
And the main
And
character switches. It's just full. I never even thought of that. It's just amazing.
never thought of it. And it's jam-packed with fucking drama and great acting. And it has that intergenerational kind of thing going on as well,
Yeah.
between the fathers and all that. So I love him as a filmmaker. But he's so right. Like, what, as an actor, first of all, there shouldn't be any difference between me on and off screen in terms of when I'm on in working. Like it needs to be seamless. I'm not all of a sudden acting, because that's a lot of bollocks. Because who wants to act? Because the act is fake, you know. And it's the same. Like, we don't, as a director, I don't want to capture anything fake or contrived. It has to come true, and it has to come from that real and honest place. And some actors have it in abundance, and some don't. And that's the reality. It's like the X Factor. You know, you either have it or you don't. Like, and most fucking don't. So I was lucky on this to work with actors. First of all, Graham Early, you know, it gives a tour de force performance in this film, and you know, he won Best Actor in Oldenburg Film Festival in Germany, when we premiered, and we won Best Film. We won Best Film too. He gives an unbelievable performance.
Good man, yeah.
But then Paul, let me tell you about Paul Rowe, who plays his father in it, who gives, again, amazing performance, got great reviews from the Hollywood Reporter. Paul Rowe, I met Paul Rowe, and I said to Paul, I said, look, what do you think of the script? And he said, John, he said, this is my father. I said, what do you mean? He said, my father went to an industrial school.
Yeah.
And he said, and my grandfather and my uncle.
Really?
Like, what? He said, yeah, they all went to leather frack, which is, the whole thing is about where that stems from. And he busted out crying, and he just said to me, look, John, please don't let me off the hook. And I knew what he meant by that, because he was only going to have a certain amount in him to give.
Yeah.
So we scheduled it in a way that we put all these emotional scenes in one day, right? So like 10 pages of just emotion, expression,
Yeah,
hell and back stuff. And every scene he fucking nailed.
really.
And then he's on the stand and he's getting tore apart by the state/Vatican solicitor who was telling him he's a liar about all the abuse he suffered. This has really happened. I really wanted to delve into this because one of the biggest atrocities ever was allowed to happen. Not only did these people get abused sexually, emotionally, physically, then they got it years later being told they were liars on the stand, and all got to do with a monetary gain, whether you're going to give them 100 grand, 50 grand, 70 grand, depending on the amount of abuse and how valid it seemed on the stand.
Yeah.
So this to me was making them relive the trauma. So Paul had to go up on the stand and do what no doubt his father had to do, and grandpa, father, and uncle, and then get abused on the stand by an actor, by solicitor, played by the actor Barry Kinsella, Barry, who's a great actor.
Oh, he's
And
fantastic.
yeah, so it's the last fucking. We're nearly going overtime. It's the last scene, and Paul has nothing left to give now, and it's on him, and it's his close up. And I went, "Fuck me! I'm gonna have to do something I don't like. I'm gonna have to do something that might even be unethical." But he told me not to let him off the hook. So
Yeah.
I walked over to Paul and I said, "Paul," I said, you're not getting to that place, man." And I said, "Unfortunately," I said, "you're doing this for your father, your uncle, your grandfather, and you're just not hitting it. I need you to go deeper. Need you to dig down deep."
Yeah.
And he just looked at me, went like that. And I went over to Barry Kinsella and I said, "Barry, it's vicious, all right, but if it were me," I said, I'd have him blubbering out of that place. I said, "You're full reign to say whatever you want."
Yeah.
So the two of them went at it, and then we stood back, and Paul busted out crying, and the pain that came from his eyes. At the end of it all, people everybody in the crew stood up and gave it a stand ovation. So that's the kind of actors you're dealing with, like Denise McCormick as well, one of Ireland's best actresses,
Yeah.
Tony Doyle, Lauren Larkin, like Kevin Glynn. Like I was blessed with the cast, man, and I think it will go down as one of the best ensemble casts in any Irish film. You'll see it for yourself.
Man, how do you take yourself there as a filmmaker? How do you say to, all right, well, listen, fucking, we have to do this? Because not only does it have to be narratively effective, you have to tell a story with this. It has to be historically respectful and emotionally respectful. How do you wake up one morning and say, fuck, look at the schedule we have to shoot this? Do you have to put yourself in a mindset, or what's that process like?
Oh, it's the opposite. It's more just don't even fucking think about it. Don't
Yeah?
look at it. I always minimalize things. So I always go, whenever there's like this big nerve-wracking thing to do, I'll minimalize it and I'll compare it to something worse. Like, am I gonna die today? Is someone gonna shoot me in the brain today? No. I'll just go to film a scene about intergenerational trauma. Grant. And what's the
Yeah.
worst that's gonna happen? A critic's gonna hate it, and you're gonna get some abuse online, and blah 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 blah. All right then. So that's what I do. And then because I don't like to think too much about things. I like to be instinctual, and I don't like to like make things academic either. Like
Yeah.
especially with acting and stuff. Like I like to get out of my mind basically. You know what I mean? Because I
Yeah.
think when you're out of your mind, your actions take over rather than thinking cognitively all the time about things. Because you can, I know I have friends who are very promising filmmakers and they get stuck in that and they can't go and make their feature finally because
It
they're
makes it
stuck
a
in their
bit
own head.
rigid. There's a
Yeah,
rigidness.
absolutely. And art needs to be totally expressive and loose,
Yeah.
and acting has to be like that as well. So I suppose, man, most of my training came from making films as an actor. That helped me as a director. You know what I mean? So just give them their freedom, let stand off, and then be there to save them when they need you, and then to make sure that they're going down the narrative path. So boom, boom, are they hitting what I need just to be safe here? So I go back in, I'll go think about that, think about that. Well, just nail that home for me, just so we have it. Go anywhere you want outside of that. You know what I mean? So it's just a collaboration that's ongoing all the time, where you're learning, and a lot of the time it's just instinctual. It's like the way I am as an
Yeah.
actor. It's ping pong back. It's the same thing as a director. It's just
Yeah.
instinctual, and you're working on things together. And when you're working with great actors, it's fucking easy.
Yeah, I'm reading a book by Sidney Lumet, who directed 12 Angry Men, a
Love
ton of,
Sidney Lumet. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
oh, great filmmaker. But he talks about working with Marlon Brando. And a big takeaway from, that book is acting is honesty. does honesty come secondhand to you when you're doing something like Cardboard Gangsters? Because that feels like you, because you grew up in Darndale, you know these characters. You probably grew up with characters similar to the people in that film. Does honesty come second nature to you when you're acting, and even as filmmaking? Because you need honesty to be a filmmaker as well. You need to be able to kind of say it to yourself. So where does that honesty come from? Is it hard for you to pull it out, or what's that like for you?
It's my kind of leading quality, I suppose.
Yeah, I see that.
And it's what's gotten me in trouble. It's what, jeopardized my career at times. Being honest all the time, and I've no other choice. That's just who I am. It's my makeup. I
You
think you
can't
need it.
change your nature. Yeah.
I can't change my nature, and I wouldn't want to at this point. Fuck it, I've done it my way so far.
Yeah.
But no, you definitely need it, man. You need that honesty, that truth, to truly believe in something. And if you have that honesty and you say, I believe in what I'm doing, well, then suddenly people will gravitate towards you and they'll believe in your vision and
Yeah.
they'll want to help make your vision come into a reality, because people are always looking for someone with a vision and someone who wants to create something and someone who wants to make a change, and they want to jump on that fucking train. So if you can convince the people around you, it all falls into place. And that's anything in my career has happened because I've gotten a group of people to believe that I can do it.
Yeah.
That's it.
I mean, I think filmmaking is about trust, because at the end of the day, if you're an actor, at the very best, 20 people in a room watching you as you pour your heart out in front of another actor, you need trust there, or else you probably feel silly or something like that. So that's fascinating, people. I'd love to also ask you, intergenerational impact of clerical abuse. That's something, and I mean, I know the title, the Black Guelph. Is it true that comes from, Italian 14th century literature?
Yeah, so they were a group of people in ancient Rome that wanted to uphold the power of the Pope in ancient Italy, and anybody who went against the Black Guelph were banished
Yeah.
or massacred. So they were kind of Pope loyalists essentially, and that's what we're saying, but not explicitly saying that the Irish state and successive government since the formation of the Free State is essentially the Black Guelph, and there are different characters in the film that represent the Black Guelph.
Yeah, and so what was it about that you felt lended itself to inner city Dublin? Because that was so fascinating to me looking at that, is the way this is obviously it like you looked at a 14th century piece of Italian literature and an idea, and you managed to implement it in Dublin. And I feel like obviously, we could sit here and say, oh, this doesn't affect Ireland at all, but it does. We both know that. And so what was it about that you felt lent itself to inner city Dublin? Was there much, did it fit like a jigsaw, or did you have to kind of jam it in?
Well, think about it. It's more obvious than it seems. Um, what is the where does clerical abuse come from?
The church.
The Roman Catholic Church.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
they've been doing it a long time. And even look at it more than abuse, as in sexual abuse or physical abuse. It's abuse of power. Because essentially the message of this film is absolute power corrupts absolutely. And the Roman Catholic Church is arguably the most power abusive institution in the world's history, arguably. And so that's what the Black Guelph were. They were Pope loyalists. They were a part of the Roman Catholic Church. They
Yeah.
were the hand, like sort of like the hands of the state at the time. So it's actually pretty obvious that we would go there. But like when you think of it like that, it's not from you've asked a very valid question. But when we were in the writing process,
It worked to you. You could see it.
yeah, absolutely. So me and Tiernan wrote it together, and when we were writing it one day, and we're going, some things weren't clicking, and then we came across Dante's Inferno early on, and we seen the correlation with our story and Dante's Inferno. We're going, fuck, and we're seeing what we've just went through the seven terrace of lust there. We've done some things already. Jesus, a lot of our stories. Wow, and then we're going, a lot of Dante's Inferno is in it without even fucking leaning into it. And
Yeah.
then went, wow, that's weird. And then we were looking for titles, and then we came across the Black Guelph, and we asked, what were the Black Guelph? What were their purpose? And we looked at it and went, what the fuck? And the Black Guelph is Ireland, we thought. And we
Yeah.
went, well, that's the title. So, and once you kind of seen that, then you lean into certain things, and it kind of gives you a deeper layered kind of structure.
Yeah, and it's not so much religion you're questioning with this. It's just the power of
Power.
the clergy.
Power in a bigger way, definitely power. Because
Yeah.
I genuinely believe that And I think if you like, absolute power corrupts absolutely. It's not. It's a cliche, but it's true. And if you look at the world that we live in now, it's all about this grab for power. You
Yeah,
know, and
Cardboard Gangsters is about power as well, I suppose you could say. Would that be fair?
absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely. Well,
that's fascinating.
power is the most intoxifying drug, and it's been there longer than any other drug. You know what I mean? So it's a subject that keeps getting tore apart in many different ways. And with this, it's no more. Like, I mean, we did live under tyranny in this country with the Roman Catholic Church. That's just a fact. But the Roman Catholic Church have been doing this for, you know, for 1,500 years now or more. And, you know, like if you look at even the leadership of the Roman Catholic Church, you look at some of the popes who were like, you know, mass murderers, mass rapers, caused wars across Europe. So it's about when you give someone that much power and you can't question the power, what will
Yeah.
they do with it? And we see it with dictators of countries. We see exactly what happens.
Yeah,
And that's
Hitler,
what it's all about.
Mussolini. It's a tale as old as time. It just keeps repeating. You could do a Western about it. You could do a film about the
Absolutely.
Vietnam War with it. And
Yeah.
yeah,
And we're doing a film about intergenerational trauma about it, which
yeah.
is just about power. So that's the message I hope people really take away, and to always challenge power, because what's the fucking quote? You know, bad things happen when good people say nothing. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
Winston Churchill. Evil prospers when good people sit around and don't say anything.
In silence, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, there you go. And Winston Churchill was a bit of a cunt, but at the same time, well, he was,
Yeah,
but at the same time, things are black and white.
yeah.
You know, he did some good things too,
Yeah,
while
there you
being an
go.
anti-Irish racist cunt. But it was good for
You're
the
a
old
poet,
club.
John. You have such a way with words.
I
You're a
know, I
poet.
know. Well, I know. I think I'm struggling with the English language. I think that's why I have to curse so much.
Oh man, and I mean, I love how you've directed it off the teasers I've seen, and I don't know if anyone has commended you this, but I absolutely love Oneers. I'm just ridiculously in love with one. I think they're the most beautiful shot in cinema, and I think this was something that was started by a filmmaker called Alan Clark for a short film he did called Elephant, and I don't know if you've seen it. It's on YouTube. It's
Yeah.
about the Troubles. Yeah, oh, it's heartbreaking. It's about the Troubles, and it's about 40 minutes long. You track people, and they kill someone. They walk into a shop, get out a shotgun, kill someone, and you focus on their dead body, and then change it, and then you follow someone else, and then they're the one getting shot, and it's just all this killing, and then the film
Yeah.
ends, and it's
Yeah.
such a powerful piece. So whenever I see Oneers in cinema, my favorite one is probably Martin McDonagh made a film called Three Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri, and
Yeah.
and Sam Rockwell's character, Dixon, loses
Yeah.
his friend, his police officer, and he's staring out this window and he's thinking, oh, he's just, and he's not crying and he'd lost, someone who he did love deeply. So he pulls out the fucking baton, he puts it in his side, he walks out across the road, he stops a car, goes upstairs to this person who was giving the police officer some trouble earlier in the film, just punches this woman, grabs the fella, throws him out the window, goes downstairs, beats him over the head twice again, and he's bleeding on the sidewalk. And he says, you see, it's not only the black side B. And he hits him again, and he walks inside. And then later on in the film, the character forgives him. And it's one of the most powerful pieces. So that's very long-winded. I don't know what I'm saying,
Yeah.
but what about the Wonder? What about the Wonder? Fascinating, because I love the Wonder. You took Graham's early character for the teaser, where he's talking to someone and then you track him going and then he's having the whole conversation with his wife. Was that hard to shoot? Because you must have had to have done that in one take.
Yeah. So we like you have to get it in one. So you could be all day. Like I remember on Cardboard Gangsters, which I didn't direct, we were trying to do a oneer, and I think it was 30 takes one time, and then and it didn't work out. There was one or two oneers in Cardboard Gangsters, not a lot, because I said to the director Mark O'Connor, I love oneers, and you should incorporate them and whatever, because they're so immersive. So when it came around to directing my film, I think we've about 25 oneers.
Actually, are you serious? I can't
Yeah,
wait to see them, man. Yeah,
we've so many oneers. Like, now, when I mean oneers, like, some are big and some are small, but some are
yeah,
big and
yeah.
orchestrated. Well, like with that one, I remember the one in the trail. We just did it twice. Basically.
That's
Yeah,
not too bad. That
yeah,
honestly, I was talking to a director, Mike Flanagan, who did a 7-minute wonder for, I think it was Midnight Manor. It was one of his, I can't even tweet the name. It was one of his horror shows.
yeah,
Midnight Mass, that was it. And it was a 7-minute long wonder with
yeah,
seagulls and shit on the beach. So wonders are something, I love wonders. And I think once they're pulled
yeah,
off, they can be so emotionally impactful. Let me ask you this,
yeah.
first time feature filmmaker, you've directed shorts before. How excited are you to jump into the next project? Because I mean, I assume you've learned something. I don't know. Would you think you'd be able to watch this film and say, and see, there's no flaws. There's no flaws in my filmmaking. I think this is fantastic. Are you
No,
gonna be there like, oh shit, I should have done this better. Why did I do that?
no, I can see the flaws, but the flaws that I can see in it could not be fixed, and
Yeah,
yeah, so they couldn't be fixed from what I had at my disposal. Is what I mean. So
yeah,
someone could dissect something and go, for instance, a criticism of the film could be this, and I've had people say this: it's too long. Right? It's 2 hours, 2 hours and 4 minutes, including the credits. So, um, my rebuttal is straight away: it's a film about intergenerational clerical abuse. It's a big subject matter to tear apart. But also, they would go, well, if you just got rid of a couple of those scenes, you didn't need them. But they're not privy to what I have in the edit as in the footage, which is
yeah,
nothing. So like what, which was nothing, and we couldn't go again and reshoot stuff. And also the way it was tightly structured in the end, you take one thing away, it affects the whole structure of the film.
yeah,
So I could like easily sit down with someone and go, yeah, what do we remove, by the way? Or remove that scene. Okay, well, if you remove that scene, well, that scene's going to meet that scene. That's going to make no sense because of what came before that, and I've nothing else to take in place. So what I mean is, I maximized what I had at my
yeah,
disposal. You know, could it be better? It can always be better, but at the same time, I'm definitely fucking very content. Like, I
yeah.
mean, we made a film for fucking less than 200 grand. We shot 140 pages, 200 scenes in 21 days. 10,000 cases a day, COVID. Uh,
Was
Getting the
this during
shit
the height
down.
of COVID?
Yeah, the first
Oh
shoot
God.
was, and then we had to do reshoots. We had to go to hell and back to make this film, and then so ultimately, yeah. But at the same time, like, man, Daniel, for me, man, I'm not into perfect films. I'm not
Yeah,
into them. I like flawed films, and I as long as soul comes through,
yeah,
and I know that the day I die, I won't regret this film in any way. And if in 10 years' time I can make a way better film, great. But I mean, I won't regret this film or look down on it ever. I'm proud of what I've done in it, and I'm proud of everyone else who's given everything to this film. And there's no way anybody's going to look at this film and go, "It's made for 200 grand," or "It's this or
yeah,
that." Like, trust me, you're going to look at it and go, "Wow!" Like, we went to Oldenburg Film Festival and we were in the category with, films that won the jury prize in South by Southwest, who won the
yeah,
audience award in Tribeca, and we beat them. They were like at least 10 times our budget. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
So yeah, I have no apologies for it or whatever. I'm very actually proud of it. And I can't wait for the Irish public in general to see it.
Oh, I mean, I've seen two teasers, and I want to see this film tomorrow. I love the way you shot, like the handheld type of thing. It seems. Someone commented, "Is this a documentary?" And someone replied, "No, it's a piece of fiction." But like, you can literally see it in the way you shoot it. And there's something so intimate about shaky cam. I really love shake. Like Paul Greengrass is the master of it in the
Yeah,
porn stuff.
yeah.
But like when the camera shakes, and like there's this one scene obviously where with the Casper Waltz scene where he delivers his lovely rhyme, but like you film it right, and it's like it's shaky, and you zoom around, and I was that what was developing the visual style for this film like? Could you see in your head? Did you because color graded is it color graded gray?
Yeah, what is the color grade? Grade.
Yeah, with like tone because it has kind of a tonal gray look to it, or maybe that's just because it's like this dark type of film.
Or maybe there's some gray. Yeah, there is a gray. Well, the atmosphere itself is gray to begin with anyway. So the Dublin city is gray. It
Yeah,
has more of like a black, and I would say black and orange with moody color, blue moody colors in with a gray. Like we looked at grade. We looked at a few different inspirations. Like for instance, we looked at The Godfather. We looked
yeah,
at Old Boy. We looked at City of God.
yeah,
And what else? We had another inspiration. We looked at Prisoners, that film with Roger Deakins done. So there's mixtures of all of those. They were all reference points. A shout out to Leandro Aruca, who did the grade. He's at Element Pictures there, one of the best, if not the best in the country. And he actually worked with the DOP of City of God and did like an apprenticeship with him.
oh
So
man,
these are all the kind of inspirations that we brought into it. And with like in terms of like the visual style, like I went very loose with my DOP and I went, I like immersive cinema. We're going to do lots of one-ers. We're going to lots of tracking shots.
yeah.
I'll only cut when I need to fucking cut, and it's about bringing the audience and sucking them right into the world. That's what it's about. I want handheld stuff. I want stuff on the movie. We're very rarely going to be on sticks. When we are, it'll probably be with a really long lens, like 50 or even 100 mil lens, where we do tracking shots. and follow them in. It's really economical. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
everything is really kind of voyeuristic almost. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So that's the style, and it's not as like we didn't do a full in-depth shot list. It's more that's what he knows I want. He shows me something on set. I go yes or no, and we move on from there.
How'd you get on with close-ups? Can I ask? Did you utilize that a bit, or did you want to stay away from close-ups?
Oh no, there's loads of close-up because a close-up is the best fucking shot in cinema when
Yeah,
it's done right and when you have the right fucking actor. So it's just about particular moments. You're always going to do some sort of coverage of every scene. Um, but again, if you can find that kind of a ballet with the oneers
yeah,
and you're moving at the right time, you're coming in and out of a close-up, mid, wide, whatever, at different points of the oneer. It's so fucking immersive anyway, and the audience forget where they are. You know what I mean? But I love it all close-up. I love like the 50 mil or even the 100 mil. That's really close. Yeah, it just gives an interesting look.
yeah. And I don't want to take up too much of your time. Would be able? Could I ask a few more
Oh,
questions? Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
perfect. I love that. What was it like filming this? Because I mean, it can't be fucking worse than Apocalypse Now. Because that's my like Francis Ford Coppola. I think tried to kill himself twice during Apocalypse Now. Marlon Brando showed up without knowing any of his lines, and he created one of the greatest films in cinema ever. So I mean, there's something to be said for not learning your lines. Remember that for your next job. The director can thank me. What was shooting this like? And I mean, could you have even prepared any better for it, or was it just a whirlwind?
Well, from literally it being the reason that I didn't kill myself to it almost being the reason why I was gonna kill myself because it was so tough to
Yeah.
stop an actors from walking off set and begging them and actually manipulating actors and telling them, look, this is about intergenerational fucking clerical abuse. Look at the pain those kids went through. Are
Yeah.
you gonna quit? Uh, to not being able to get any props, costumes, actors falling out last minute due to COVID. I had to act in it myself because we couldn't get any actors. Then I had
Were
to
you
write
not
the part.
originally in it?
No, I just because I couldn't get any actors, and then any actor I could get at my disposal, I never trusted them to do the part because the part was a pretty difficult part, and
Yeah.
it's you had to be able to go to that dark side, and I knew I could go there while fucking directing all the fucking circus that was going
Oh,
on
that
about
must
me.
have been some hassle, no?
Oh, stop. And look, we shot it in January with ice on the ground, on a barge boat at times, no toilets. As I said, we shot the shutdown due to COVID. It got rapid fire. Everybody got COVID and they said we had to restart again. It was fucking hell, man. It was
Yeah.
literally. And we have to actually reference the Hearts of Darkness doc. We wish we had someone fucking documenting the whole process. Only we couldn't fucking afford someone to do it. Do you know what I mean? So
Call me next time and I'll film you all on my phone. We'll put up a VTS or something on the channel.
that's
And
a deal. That's a deal.
we can see John in his directing element, It's a cigarette hanging out your mouth saying, no, do it this way. Get off, get the light shots. I always love that visual of a director with a cigar hanging out their mouth. So there you
I
go.
was smoking about 100 fags a day,
Yeah. We just leaning the packs back.
just one after another, just one after another.
All in the both hands. You're just taking puffs out of them all
I
at
did.
different
I
times.
often smoke two at a time.
Oh my days, man. So it's nice to see you back. So how excited are you for your next film?
Yeah, really excited, man. I'm not too sure what exactly I'm going to do next as a director. I did produce a film right before Christmas. I produced it with my company Cluster Fox and Promenade Pictures, which have Kevin Tracy and Owen McKenna, who are now two very good friends of mine. And I played the lead in the film, and I'm really excited about that. It's something I never did before in terms of the kind of character that I played, So really fucking proud of that. I know that's going to be good. So the next one's probably going to be my Traveller one, Ming Keir's Witten, which means Travellers Talking, and it's sort of biopic of my life growing up, and it's going to be the similar film about travellers. I think it's like this one is full of rage. The next one, although it's my quote unquote traveller film, people might imagine it's about rage because
Yeah.
of discrimination and this, that, and the other. And it's actually not. It's about magic, and it's about the magic of culture and the
Yeah.
magic of love and overcoming trauma again. But it's the magical side of it. Even I would call it a magical realist piece, a mixture of a social realism and magical realism.
No, so would you say shooting the Black Guelph kind of invoked rage in you? So maybe your next project wouldn't invoke that some. It's going to be
Yeah,
stressful, sure. I'm still, but is that how you feel? As an, like, that's really fascinating
yeah.
to me. Did you feel Black Guelph kind of invoked a certain rage in you, and the next
Oh
project
yeah,
maybe won't?
the Black Guelph is all the rage I have inside me,
Yeah,
and it's, I think the Black Guelph is the rage of the underclasses and the downtrodden and the ill-treated.
yeah,
And it, for me, the film represents that rage of that injustice. Whereas this one, I could easily take the same approach considering the injustices of travelers in this country, but it's not about that. I'm focusing in on the beautiful side, the more romantic, without, for the lack of a better word, and the more endearing part of our culture,
yeah,
and family, and what brings family together. It's just me growing, man, and
yeah,
finding different things as a man, as a filmmaker, as an artist, and different things I want to explore. And I'm glad that it's happened this way, because I'm ready to do something different with the next one,
yeah.
and do something that's more like transformative.
That's amazing. Do you feel like Love Hate John Connors could have made a film like this?
Nah, well,
Really?
Love Hate John Connors was only 24,
Yeah.
so I'm
Were you
33 now.
24 when you were on Love Hate?
Yeah. It was 24. So
Oh,
that was the
man.
last season was 24. So like, and then 25 Cardboard Gangsters. So like, there's a big difference between 24 and 5 and 33, you
Yeah.
know? And so like, even the Black Guelph, I wanted to make that way back in 2015 or 16. Thank God I didn't, which was the Bless Your Father, that time was called. So like, all these things kind of happen for a reason. These kind of, when you get knocked down, you get back up again. It all happens for a reason, and you learn to lick all the wounds, and you learn to box clever, and you
Yeah.
learn more about life, and you learn more how to translate that on screen too.
Yeah. Is the Black Wealth you being a product of your environment, of the way you grew up?
I suppose the Black Guelph,
Maybe the Traveler biopic would be more. Yeah.
yeah, maybe the Black Guelph, to me, again, it's the voice of the voiceless. The
You
voice
need to
of,
tell this story.
yeah, I truly do, because
Mm.
I'm one of I'm one of those voices of the voiceless. But it's about all those voices in Ireland that were left behind. They were never given a voice, and they were used and abused. And I don't think they were ever given their say truly, and nor were they given justice. And that's what it is, and that's what it represents for me.
Yeah, it's a niche pocket in Irish history, kind of, and I can't wait to see how you explore that. And my last couple of questions: is it true you're doing a Brendan Behan biopic? I saw you talk about this on Instagram. Is that something's coming up?
Yeah, that's coming up. Yeah, I'm one of the producers on it, and I'm playing Brendan Behan, who'd be one of my heroes,
Yeah,
a working class fella as well. And he's someone who's been forgotten, and I think deliberately forgotten through history. It's funny that in the tenement he grew up in, his is the only tenement on the street that doesn't exist, that was blown up, by the council or whatever, and desecrated, which is weird because they didn't like his message either, which was very anti-power, anti-corruption,
yeah,
anti-imperialism, and had a lot of criticisms of the Irish state and successive governments. But a genius in his own right, and certainly a very interesting character for me to play in. I think I'm a model to play him. So yeah, that's going forward. Hopefully, the end of the year.
what's that like? Are you gonna have to, bring yourself somewhere just to get that right? You're gonna have to drown yourself in literature. What's your process
Yeah,
gonna be like for playing a real person?
yeah. So I'll just read everything he's ever written, which I'm already close to that anyway, in
Yeah,
terms because I'm a big fan anyway. And then, well, read it all inside out. Anything that was ever written about him, then, which
yeah,
I'm getting there as well. Anything that was ever made about him, I'm also watched a lot of what's made about him, and then also getting into a lot of what he liked and all the
yeah,
stuff all his favorite stuff, and then on the technical side, just get his voice down, and again,
yeah.
try to find a voice where
Where's he from?
well, he's inner city working class, so
Oh
so
yeah,
he, so but it's old Dublin, he spoke like,
yeah.
Brendan being the old triangle
Bit of Luke
waiting,
Kelly.
yeah, and he real high voice in comparison to mine, but he had a rhythm because it's that old Dublin, today's bread today. So it's getting that, and then also he had a speech impediment, where he'd go to
Really?
old Dublin, and it would depend on how far he was down the line and what his mental health or physical health was, but it got worse kind of the more even sober he got, probably at times near the end, and then he would, yeah, be really really bad speech impediment. So there's a lot of that to contend with, which again, I knew this project was coming in me hard one day.
Yeah.
So and yeah, I just knew it was coming. I just knew I was going to play him one day. um don't ask me how. Maybe
That's
I,
that's crazy, man. Who's an Irish? Sorry for taking up so much time. Who's an
yeah.
Irish person you'd like to see a biopic of?
Fuck.
I think you could do. I think you could do a Shane McGowan biopic with Shay. Like I look at him and I think a Shane McGowan biopic about an artist who is kind of consumed by alcoholism.
Yeah,
Shane McGowan, who I have nothing but respect for. I think he's
yeah.
probably one of the greatest artists to come out of Ireland. I love that guy.
I think Barry Keoghan will have be good at him.
Yeah. Oh shit, that's actually a show, wasn't he? Maybe I actually stole that from somewhere. Was he supposed to do a Shane McGowan thing?
I've heard just rumors that they were talking about it.
Yeah, he'd be
Yeah,
good as well, actually.
yeah, it'd be good. I'd love to see Brian Boru, the last great High King of Ireland.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, and he died in the battlefield in 1987 in the Battle of Clontarf. He was decapitated by Vikings. So I'd love to see him. I'd love to see someone play him. But I mean, he'd probably be better off playing in a series over his
Yeah.
whole life, from his early age all the way up in 6 or 8 series.
What's your dream role? Do you have a Western or a Viking film in you, or are you happy doing inner city Dublin stories?
Oh no, I want to do it all. As an
Yeah.
actor, I want to do it all. Western for sure, man. Listen, my first films I loved growing up were westerns. All
You'd
the
be
John
great in
Ford.
You'd be great in a Sergio Leone cowboy film, man.
Yeah, I'd fucking love that. The John Ford's kind of films I loved as
Yeah.
well.
The
I grew,
Searchers.
yeah, The Search is one of my favorite. I grew up like obsessed with John Wayne, and then like I watched. My grandfather had 180 VHS tapes of John Wayne of his films. Now John Wayne had about 180 feature films, and then he had about 50, 60 short films. I've seen them all, every single one of them. And
Really?
my grandfather used to let me. I was the only grandson. Me and my brother, he'd allow into the treasure chest and take the films and watch them. So I watched all these films religiously growing up. So
John
I've
Wayne
loved.
just started pumping out shit, did he? How many cowboy films did he have? Was he just doing this every week?
Well, he did like 180 feature films or so, 170 something, and then 50 or 60 short films. The majority of which were westerns. Probably about out of the 230, there was probably 200 westerns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
So
man.
so yeah, I'd love to do a western for sure. I'd love to do a western. That'd
That's
be one.
amazing. And I'll be on
Yeah.
set. I'll be on set doing the behind the scenes tape for it, and then we slap it up there on YouTube. You could literally witness an artist go crazy on camera. That's good for the views. John, my last couple of questions before I let you go. What advice would you have for anyone looking to become an actor or a director? Because you can do both. So
Yeah, just fucking make sure, like cliche, but just make sure you want it because you're going to be tested. You're going to be tested. You're going to be tested mentally. It's
yeah,
a hard road because the cream rises to the top, but sometimes, some of the cream, they can hang it out longer. They can wait it longer. It's like a war of attrition. And
yeah,
it's usually people who come for money because, mommy or daddy can subsidize them for longer. Whereas if you come from our sort of backgrounds and you're not fucking rich and you have your talent, like how long can you last taking all the no's, taking all
yeah,
the rejections? And if you're a filmmaker, look, you have to just fucking be more than just one thing. You have to go and make it. And if you're lying around just to get your first feature done and you're fucking farting and fucking telling everybody about this great idea you have,
yeah,
fuck off. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
You're gonna be at the end of the queue. Go and make it. Nothing stopping you. Go and make it.
yeah,
Put a post up. Do what Terry McMahon did. Put a post up on Facebook and ask for people to want to do a jump in the crew. And then he did a film called Charlie Casanova and made on €900. The won jury prizes all across the world. You
yeah,
know, there's people out there who want to make films just like you. Everybody wants an IMDb credit. Everybody wants to work again. Everybody wants their first gig. Everyone wants to pop their cherry. And people have equipment. You'll get them if you want to make it. But find what you want to make, believe in it, and tell everybody about it, and you'll make it. That's it.
Oh, everyone, no better advice from an absolute like. See, the light went off. That's prophesizing. That was perfect. It's like it's the Marlon Brando Apocalypse Now thing. Like you're an errand boy sent by clerks to collect a bill. John, my friend, any new and I can't say we're best friends. Charlie and Ryan, if you're watching this, me and John Connors are best mates. And if any of you get smart, we're gonna come to our gaff and batter you. Isn't that right, John?
Hey, that's a fact.
Man, anything you can promote the Black Guelph? Is there anything people should go check out that you can say you worked on?
Yeah, the Black Guelph is definitely one, and I just finished the film there yesterday with Guy Pearce in it. It was called
Andrew Baird's, isn't it?
Andrew Baird directed. It's called Sunrise. Alexander Pettifer is in it. Guy Pearce and loads of great Irish actors is in it, and it's like an action, neo noir set in a town, kind of thriller
Yeah.
genre piece, something I never really done before. And I had a load of you know, I had a load of scenes with Guy Pearce, and I had a fucking ball. A
Oh,
lovely fella.
LA
Lovely fella.
Confidential is still a film I watch every once in a while.
I love it. I love it. I love that film. And Memento is another one I love.
Do you have a top 5 favorite films? I just have that because I mean you're just dropping out all these gems. I have like what's your what's that called? The Sight and Sound magazine. What's your top 5?
Well, I'm gonna say now I could be talking out of me bollocks saying this, right? But I know me number one, and I'll just throw you whatever forward comes to me mind.
Yeah.
Number one is Raging Bull.
Oh, fuck me. Have you ever been to Bow Street Academy? Have you seen the big Raging Bull poster they have in the lobby?
I have, yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm going to pocket that. If no one's looking, I'm going to cut it off the wall with a switchblade and I'm bringing it home.
We'll do it together.
Yeah, you hold me in through the window by the legs and I'll just grab it and we'll just go.
I'm going to go for, I'll go for My Name is Joe, the Ken Loach film. Have you ever seen that?
Oh, I've seen loads of Ken Loach's films. That's not one I've seen.
Yeah, that's one I love. And I'll go for
My name is Joe. Is that I'm gonna write that down actually. That's what I'm gonna watch. What's called My Name is Joe?
Yeah, My Name is Joe. I love that film. I'll go for Angels with Dirty Faces.
Who did that?
That's James Cagney, actor. Amazing actor. Have you seen James Cagney stuff?
No, you're making me look like a right arse. I thought I knew everything there is to know about film. No, those are 2 names I haven't seen. Would you recommend that?
Oh God, man. Go down the fucking hole and watch Angels with Dirty Faces, Public Enemy, number 1, and White Heat, the 3 classical gangsters from the 20s to the 40s.
Yeah.
All with James Cagney, Irish-American actor who played these gangster films, all black and white. What are you hearing? What are you saying? All this kind of stuff. And some of the most iconic moments in cinema history are in those 3 films. Like White Heat. You'll when you watch it, you'll get what I'm saying. But there's this epic scene where he goes, "Top of the world to you, ma!" And it's
yes, yeah. I remember I was in a hotel room and they were playing a documentary on it, and that was the scene. It's black. Yeah, I know.
White Heat and Angel with Dirty Faces has the greatest cinema ending ever. Go watch it and tell me. Go watch it because I'd like to have a conversation with you about the ending because I have my theory on it. So Angel with Dirty Faces, go and watch that. That's fucking amazing. Have you seen? I'll give you a French one. Just why not?
Fuck's sake, John! You give me a French one. You give me a silent black and white French film. Go on, please.
No. I'll give you a French one. A Prophet. Have you seen A Prophet?
No, I haven't. What's that about?
Oh, A Prophet. Oh, amazing, bro. Amazing.
You're making a show of me. Is that good?
Have you seen La Haine?
Oh, I've seen La Haine. Oh, yes, finally one I've seen.
Watch A Prophet, man. It's about an Algerian, half French, half Algerian prisoner who gets mobbed up with the Corsican gangs. It's fucking, what I mean, fucking amazing. It's a masterpiece.
Yeah.
Like a masterpiece.
So La Haine is a cracking film, man.
Love La Haine. This is even more for me, like more substance. Because La Haine is style as well, and so it's amazing. Yeah. Well, what's that, A Prophet? And then just for the crack, I'll throw in Life. Life by Eddie Murphy acting in Life, and Martin Lawrence.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's a scene. I was watching one of your interviews, and you quoted a scene from that, and it was this. I forget which moment it was, but this Martin Lawrence said something. I was watching a podcast, and you quoted a scene from that, and I thought it was gas. But yeah, man. Dude, those are some great names. That's a fucking cracking list, man. Making me look like a writer. You know your films anyway. John, are you on? Does Black Guelph? Is there a DIFF, Dublin International Film Festival? Should people go get tickets to that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's premiering. Irish premiere is March 1st, 8:30 p.m. Lighthouse Cinema, Screen 1, and you can get tickets. Yeah, it's the big screen. So yeah, still loads of tickets left.
Dude, fantastic. Anything? Are you on social media? Anything like that? People should go follow you on.
Yeah. John Connors on Instagram. John Connors actor.
Nice. And everyone, I should recommend you check out the Cluster Fox podcast with John and Turner Williams. I've listened to like 3 of their episodes. It's such a great podcast. I like normally I don't listen to podcasts because I'm too good for it because I have a YouTube channel. But this is something I actually do enjoy this one. It's great stuff, John. I'll talk to you a little bit off air, but man, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me, sir. You're a local legend. It's been an absolute honor.
Thanks, Daniel. Thanks for having me, buddy.
All right, perfect. I'll talk to you off air. Everyone, thank you guys so much for watching. Please make sure to like and subscribe. As always, if you have the means, please make sure to donate to the National Deaf Children's Society. But yeah, thank you all. Go check out the Black Guelph. This has been my interview with absolute legend and new best friend, John Connors. Thank you all so much for watching. Bye.